Well, hey everybody, how you doing? It's Doug here, Doug Nistakana, Board Game Geek, bringing you our second episode of March of the Ants cooperative playthrough. I was wondering if I was going to do the whole thing or not. I might. It's not that long of I mean, from a turn cycle, if we do one turn per video, it would only be 3 more videos. But I know there's so many other things you probably want to see and that. But I think this is a very cool game. I hope you're getting the gist of it from my last video, and I saw some other playthroughs, which is the other reason I'm thinking about maybe not running the whole thing. Some other playthroughs have popped up since, and reviews, etc. But I do think we're going to keep going, and one thing I want to point out is at the heart of the game, it is not cooperative, it is competitive. And I do think in playing this portion of it, and I haven't played the competitive game either, but I do get the sense, my gut tells me, that would be a much more fulfilling game, the competitive piece, because of the way it's designed. However, I'm not saying this is not fun. It was a fun first turn for us, and I think we will continue on. So, guys, let's get to our first turn and get things going. The first thing we have to do is take the first player marker and move it to our red ant colony. And there that is. Now, just to give you some quick refreshers, first we're going to do the worker phase, is where we take all of our actions: explore, march, forage, play a card, and rest. Now, rest is the last thing you do during the turn, and also if you do the big march, you gotta eat. That's the last thing you're going to do in your turn, is do this big march. Some things require food, so the red player does have 3 food, and he's going to defeat his ants later as well. And then, of course, from there we go on to the soldier phase, where we do any battles that take place. It can be a little out of sequence here with the solo play and the centipedes, but we'll cross that bridge if we come to it. And then the queen phase, where we harvest, we feed, and we get our royal decree of extra larva or extra food. And then we do the slumber, which is kind of the scoring phase, etc. So let's get on with his turn. Now, he's got lots and lots of guys. He's got a pretty good nest of larvae there. And he's got a couple of cards, but they're really not the cards. I'm not going, well, we could do this extensive tunnel thing and score it, or I don't know. They don't seem, these are not the cards for this stage of the game where we really could be building out some special abilities and that. So I think the first action that the red player is going to take is, and this is more, when you're fighting against the centipedes, it's more about survival and sustainability than building out a grand tunnel, but we probably will still do some exploration. But I do think that the first thing this player is going to do is forage. Now, forage allows us to draw 2 cards, and then each other player gains a larva in their nest, and in a cooperative game that's a good thing. So he's going to first spend the food and then go like here, and that's going to allow us to draw 2 cards. So he's got a tunneling thorax, which costs basically 1 ant or 1 larva. Your ants may move between any adjacent hexes regardless of tunnels. That's pretty good. They can tunnel. And another colony goal, xenophobic tribe. When a player places 2 larvae into a hex you control, each slumber gains 2 victory points if you inhabit all of the collection sites in 3 or more hexes. That's a pretty good one too. We'll take those, but I don't know that how quickly we're going to play them. Anyway, that was their turn. So of course the next thing we have to do is draw a card for the centipedes. Okay, so I'm going to discard these at some point, but we're going to draw another card, and it's going to be a colony goal. So that's I think one of the worst things we can get. It says Rampage. Centipede battles take place in each hex. Well, good news is we don't have one in each hex that is both inhabited by ants and centipede tokens. We don't have that scenario right now. During the Centipede Rampage, each centipede gains +1 to the army strength. Okay, there is a I got to look this up, because there is something that happens if that doesn't go. Let me think about this for just a second. Well, guys, as you know, as I said in the first video, this is a learning session. I have not played this before, but it does not appear that there is a consequence for a Rampage card coming up and having no scenario where that would be impactful. So I guess it's the game's way of giving us a little bit of a reprieve, but I haven't seen it's been that difficult for us yet. So I'm hoping I'm not missing something, but I don't think I am. Anyway, let's go to the yellow player's turn now. Okay, so here we are at the yellow player, and he too has 4 food and some larvae, but we are going to, he's got some good cards, and I'm debating on whether I want to play one of them. He's got he's got a couple of evolution cards for his abdomen, and one for this Trapjaw head, which is at the end of each soldier phase, gain 1 victory point for each hex where you battled. That's pretty good. During the queen phase, you may treat up to 2 collection sites as food sites. That's really good. And this Carpenter Abdomen, at the start of your queen phase, discard the top card of the deck. You may move steps equal to that number of the discard. Move ants only. So that means you can move your ants on the board. But I think that what we're going to do, this is an expensive one though. It's 3 larvae or 3 ants to get this collection set up. But you remember, if we also get these bonuses too during the queen phase. Each food feeds 1 additional ant per abdomen evolution. So I do think we're going to do this. It doesn't cost any food. So we're going to play this lower leaf cutter abdomen right here. That is going to consume 3 of our larvae. But remember, I get 1 back because of what happened with the because of the card draw for the red player. Now, when you play a card, the reaction is each other player may discard a card to draw a card. So we played a card. We gave our yellow colony has now an evolution of leaf cutter abdomen, but then he gets to discard a card too. And I'm thinking that we're going to discard this xenophobic tribe. I don't think this is going to help us much. And in doing so, we're going to get to draw a new card. So they drew, oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. Harvested thorax. That's going to be better for us. After you explore, immediately collect 1 larva from each larva collection site that you inhabit in the Explorer hex. That's pretty cool. We're going to want to get that out, right? Okay, so that is the entire turn for the yellow player, though. Let's go to now the centipedes. We haven't done much expansion on the board this turn, but that doesn't mean we won't yet. Let's see what we get here. Another colony goal. Epic Stores. This is a colony goal, so that means it's going to go here, and that's going to be 2 turns. I'm going to give this a quick shuffle just to be sure I haven't clumped some things together. Okay. And that means really nothing's going to happen because, again, we weren't in a position where there were any centipedes to battle us. Huh. Going to be an easy turn, I think, so far. Let's go on back to the red player. So the red player is going to actually explore. That is going to cost us another food. It's going to allow us to draw the top tile, which is the last of the basic tiles. This is the underleaf. Now let's go see where we can put that. So the red player here has, basically has been expanding out there. So we have a couple of choices. It wouldn't hurt to get things back in here because that does impact scoring. So I'm thinking that we're going to do this because that will allow the player to bring a hex back this way towards this entrance here, and that's fine. And then we have to, of course, move an ant. So we're going to take an ant and we're going to move it here to this food pickup site. For now, well, you know what? Let's take it from. No, I don't want to take the food. We'll take it from there. We're gonna march this turn with him anyway. So that is okay. And that basically ends his turn. We do get to do this, which is our reaction. So each other player may place 1 larva from their nest onto any hex they inhabit. So we're definitely going to do that. The yellow player is going to put 1 here. So that is going to satisfy that. Now we're going to go to the centipedes. Okay, let's draw a card for the centipedes. An evolution card. So this is going to be the invade. It says add a centipede to the meadow. Place the centipede to in the highest number hex that does not already contain a centipede. So let's go do that. Okay, so we do know that centipede is going to go right there in the stony mound to battle our ants that are there, the red player's ants, and that's all it does. So when we do the invade, if all regular hexes are full, then it goes into the Great Tunnel, but it won't. And so the next thing we got to worry about is it marching into the Great Tunnel because that scores victory points for the centipedes. Okay, that was it. Now let's go back to the yellow player. I think it's time for the yellow player to explore again. They got 4 food, so we're going to take one of these tiles. We're going to explore. Now now we're getting into the tiles that are not the basic tiles. They're black bordered instead of yellowed. That means they're not basic. So this is soil. Interesting one. It's got a wormhole in it. That means if we connect it to another wormhole, we can travel from there from wormhole to wormhole. Let's see where we want to put this. So I think I know. So I think we're going to do this right here. Buyout. Okay, and that'll keep it cohesive for that player. And then we'll take this larva one here. I think we'll start by putting it on this larva one here. We'll get them all. Well, he's not going to be able to get them all filled out. He's only got 2 larvae, but that's okay. Now of course, the next thing that happens is we get the reaction ability, which means the red player gets to place one of his larvae out onto the board as an ant, which makes sense. So we're going to place it here in the control spot again, right here. We're going to fill that space up, trust me, but that's going to go there in that space with the double larva for collections. And then now we got 2 ants there to battle the centipedes, so that's a good thing. And now we'll just go on to the red player's actual turn. But I think we're going to do the obvious, and we're going to use a food to march. It says move 5 steps, larva first, then ants. Now, for placement of those, we have to place them in an area where we already have ants located. So let's go back to the board. So we can move into any hex that we occupy with our larva, or the Great Hall, so the Great Tunnel. So what we're going to do is we're going to first take 3 of the larva, so that's going to be 3 of our 5. We're going to fill this space up. We're going to put 1 there and 1 there, and the larva, those pools. And then up here, I'm going to put 1 in the card space because that's going to also take control of that spot. Then over here, I think we're going to put 1 in the food space here because we definitely need food. We're going to have more ants, and then 1 over here, and that'll be our total of our 5 steps. I didn't have to move anybody. I just placed them out, and I still have a couple of larvae in the larva chamber. Now, as a reaction, the yellow player gets to move an ant 1 step, but he really has nothing he wants to move at this point. So that's going to be the end of that for the red player. Now understand that the next turn the red player is probably just going to rest. I think that's about all he can do. I know he can't do another march. You want to do that once, but I have to check. I for some reason recall reading that when you do a march you can't do anything after that. So we'll see. But let's go to the centipede's turn now. Again, the yellow player is not going to move an ant, so we don't have to do that. I nearly forgot something important. When you do a march, you are allowed to then battle a centipede out of sequence, and I think we're going to do that because if we take that centipede now, it won't get an opportunity to end up moving and going into the Great Tunnel, and we have 4 resources there. So if I take this colony goal of extensive tunneling, that'll give us a battle effect of 4. But let's see first, that'll give us 8. But let's see first what we draw for the centipedes. They're going to first draw a card as well. And I'm just going to run through the centipede battle so you understand it again. That way you'll be able to play it when you encounter it too. Because you will encounter centipedes in the non-cooperative version as well. Okay, it's pretty simple. We're going to do this. It's basically the same thing, but we're going to do first find out what the centipede's strength is by drawing one of their cards. So they are a strength of 2 right now, and we are already a strength of 4. Now there are, as you've seen as I've drawn out these cards, there are ones in the centipede deck that are strengths of 4 either. But even if, well, see if they pull out a 4, and we don't use that 4, which I don't have a big use for this extensive tunneling card. I really don't. So I think we're going to do that because it's going to give us a strength of 4. So we'll do that. So that's going to give the ants a strength of 4. So here's the ant card right here. And now we have to draw 1 more card and see how tough the centipede ends up being. And see, it was a 3. I'm glad we played that 4 because that would have been a 5. If we'd only played a 2, we would have lost. So this is going to go back to the general. We won. This is going to go back to the general discard pile. And then it says outcome and casualties. The ant wins. Ants win if they have an equal to or greater total. And then we also have to destroy ants rounding down. So we're going to lose 1 ant out of those. So it's half their total round down. Their total is 3. And we're going to gain a food and a victory point as well. So the red player gets to remove another centipede. That's a good thing. Gets a piece of food. And we're going to lose 1 of them. So I think we'll just lose 1 of the ones off these larva spaces. And we got a lot of larvae coming in next turn as well. And then we get to advance 1 more space, so we are now ahead of the centipedes with both players. And then we simply discard these, and that was officially the end of the red player's turn. But now we do see, and here's the advantage. Now we have a centipede turn again, but we've already gotten rid of the centipede that was on the board. Okay, so here we are. We got to draw for the centipedes. What do we get? We get an evolution again. So we are going to put another one out on the board, and it's going to go right back into the stony mound. It seems to me like there would be an opportunity for these guys to pile up on us, but I haven't seen it so far. So maybe with the card draws we'll see that happen. Maybe we're just getting very lucky. I'm not sure. But now we are going to go back to the yellow player's turn. Now when the yellow player forges, the red player does get to gain a larva into their larva chamber as well. Okay, let's draw for the centipedes to see what happens. Boom! Okay, it's another evolution card, so we've had several evolution cards in a row. That means we're actually going to be putting a second centipede out. So this is the highest spot, and this underleaf here is the second highest spot at a 7. So I'm trying to make sure that's right, because there's a 9, I think, 9 tile. But nope, that's it. That's the next one is a 7. So now we have 2 of them out in the red player's area. That's not great for them. Could be a tough round at the end of the round. But anyway, we're going to go to the red player now. The red player's basically done. So we're going to do this. He's going to rest, and we're going to put a larva right there. That's going to be his reward for resting first. And then we're going to go over to the yellow player, but first, of course, we have to draw another centipede card. Okay, well, what do we get here? An event. So that's going to be an advance. That's not great. Okay, the centipede's on the lowest number of hexes now. The card number was a 1, so that's a good thing. They're only going to jump once, so that's the 1 right there. It says right here, the centipedes on the lowest numbered hex move a number of jumps equal to that space of the card. With each jump, the centipede moves into the next available hex with a lower number. If there are no hexes with a lower number, then the centipede enters the Great Tunnel. So, I actually get to spread the wealth a little bit. So this one is going to pop over to here, because this is the next lowest. So we're going to move 1 step. So we go from 7 to 6, and now the centipede is there with them. That's going to cause the yellow player to have a battle as well. He's not very well equipped to do it there. It seems wasteful, but we're going to spend 1 more food and do a march with the 2 larvae that are remaining there, and because we need to get them on the board to battle the centipede. So let's go take a look at that. Okay, so there's the 2 right there. We got 1. We can put 1 in that space. That's it. I can put another one there, but we'll leave it with 3. We'll see if we can battle that, and we'll put another one here to collect food next turn as well. So hopefully that they will survive in that space. This could be a first loss for us. We'll continue on. Now, hey, one thing that somebody wrote me and said, "Hey, you're not doing all your cool card images and stuff." This game just didn't seem like I need to be putting cards up everywhere all the time on the screen. There's no player cards that you have to look at, and the player boards here stay pretty static. They might change once in a while, but other than moving things in and out of larva chamber and food stores, maybe having a colony card or a card upgrade, it's hard to say. So I didn't do that. I just played it straight through. I hope you don't mind. Like I said, I did get a couple comments, not negative comments, just curious why I kind of went back to old school on this game, if there was a reason, and there was. It just seems simpler to do it this way and more effective for demonstrating gameplay. And it being a brand new game to me, without me ever having played it before, as I'm filming, I'm also thinking about editing and positioning and things like that, and I get to think about that a little bit less if I'm not planning to put stuff all over the screen as pictures and things like that. So, that being said, we will continue on. Since I marched the yellow player, the red player still, even though they're resting, they still get to do this reaction step, which is to move one of the ants. And I think we're going to take that option. We're going to take the one from this hex here, and since it's the exact same thing, if you manage to survive, we're going to move it there so that they can battle the centipede. Now, at the end of the action, the yellow player can battle that centipede. He's got 2 centipedes there to fight with. I'm debating on whether I do it now or just end the round next turn and do it in the battle step. Thinking about that. Let me think a little more. Probably won't take too much. And we'll continue on. But let's go back now to so if we don't have that battle, we're going to go the centipede step. And with him only having 2 there, let me see what he's got in cards. He has a 3 that he can play. Not only that's going to give him a 5. That's kind of pushing the envelope, but we might lose. So do we lose now or do we lose later? I don't think it's going to matter. We're going to continue on and let the centipedes take their turn. Okay, draw that card. Another evolution. So we are going to have another invasion. It's going to go to the next lowest step, which is going to be, it says add a centipede to the meadow, place the centipede in the highest number hex available. It's not occupied. So it's going to go back to the red player. So just as I said, we weren't getting a lot of centipedes out. We now have 3 on the board. And there's going to be some battling this turn. So let's finish that, go back to the yellow player now. I'm sorry, it would actually be the red player's turn. Let's go look at that. The red player can't do anything but rest. So the red player, since they rest again, is going to now get an additional 2 food. Or an additional food right there. Boom. Okay, I'm going to look that up just to be sure that's right. I'm pretty sure that that's what the reward is. It's not 2 food, it's step 1, 2, and 3, not 2 food, 3 food. Let's continue on. That's going to go right to the centipede phase. Yeah, they just get 1 food every time they rest from this point on. But let's draw the next card. It is an event. So that is going to be an advance. That's not necessarily a good thing. And it's a 3, so it's going to take a big old hop. Let's take a look at that. The advance phase for the centipedes. The centipede on the lowest numbered hex moves a number of jumps equal to 3, because that's what's on the card. With each jump, the centipede moves into the next available hex with the lower number. If there are no available hexes, it moves into the Great Hall and it scores, which is not great. So the lowest number one is oh gosh, I didn't realize that soil one is a 16. So in reality, it should look more like this. This guy should be here, and this guy should be here. I thought that was a 6 for some. I don't know why I missed the 1. It's a 16 on the soil. So 16 is our highest. Yeah, so this is the way it should be. But that means that the 6 is the lowest. It would have been the lowest anyway. It's going to move to the 5, but it's going to take 3 jumps. So let's go over to the other side of the board. I think it's going to make it into the big great tunnel. So it jumped from the 6 to the 5. That's 1. Jumped from the 5 to the 3. That's 2. Jumped from the 3 to the 2. That's way over here, and then goes to the Great Hall. So, or the Great Tunnel. I keep calling it the Great Hall. Used to fantasy games. So let me think about that, because we have to. I don't know. Do we score that now? Let me see. The Centipede Horde scores 1 for each battle. 1 point per player for each centipede enters the Great Hall. Okay. It does score immediately, but I'm going to take these 2 off and just use the tokens to denote that they are there, because I want to use the big ones for putting on the board when they move around. But now let's go back to the scoring board and score 2 more points, putting the centipedes up to 4. They're leading again. It's not the end, though. The yellow player is going to take his turn to rest, so he's going to get that. And then that's going to end the player's turns. He did take a rest, so I assume we're going to have to take another centipede action before we go to the battle round. Okay, let's see what happens next. An event. Uh-oh. Trying to remember which goes where. Okay, the event's right here. So another advance. And it's going to advance 5 steps. So, you know what's worse than this is we're going to take the one that's in the 8 space there, right here, and it's going to go from 8 to 7. It's going to go from 7 to 6, which is across the board, 6 to 5, which is right here, 5 to 3, which is right here. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Good news is it didn't quite make it to the Great Hall. It's going to end up right there. And let's just do that again. So it started in here. No, started in here. It went 1, 2, 3, 4, up, no, and 5. So they're going to score another 2 points, and it got into the Great Hall. I should have battled that one when I had the chance. So that's another 2 points. We got some catching up to do now. So we still have 1 battle, and we're going to draw a card. Let's see what the centipede gets. A 3. So right now the centipede's a 3, strength 3, and the highest card we have is a 3. So we're going to have to play it. I think we're going to play this. We're going to play this event card. It says Frenzied Activity. That's going to give us a 3 army strength, or ferocity rather. So that's right now we're at a 5 to 3. But if he draws a 2, if he draws better, we're going to be out of luck. So the ants get to draw their second one, and we lucked out. It is a 1. So what does that mean? That means we defeated we defeated them again, but we are going to lose 1 of the yellow larvae. It got killed because we're going to round down the 3 to a 1, and then this one goes off the board. So we were able to kill 1. That also gives us a food, which I'll put on the yellow player's mat. That gives them 2 food, and the yellow player gets to score a victory point. Yippee! Okay, now let's continue on. This gets discarded, and these 2 cards get discarded to the deck for the centipedes. So we're going to be reshuffling that deck pretty soon, maybe, because we're going to come to the end of the turn. Now we're going to go to the Queen's phase. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to collect. I guess we'll start with the red player since he was first player. Red player's got a lot going on, so if you can see that, we'll start with food. We're going to collect 3 food for that. 1, 2, there's 2, and 1 more is 3. So that's the food. Now we've got to look at larvae. We're going to collect 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 larvae. That is awesome. That's going to be a good start for next turn. There's 5 and 6. That puts 9 in their chamber. And then we also get a card. So we're going to get a card. What did he get? He got Tawny Crazy Head. Okay. During battles, each ant that you lose is returned to your larva chamber. That's pretty good. I want to get that out because that's great. That gives them more larvae. And then that's it for that. So that's his collections. So now we're going to harvest for the yellow player. Not as much going on there. He's going to get 2 food. So we'll grab 2 food for the yellow player. There's that. He's got 4 food in his chamber. He's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 larvae. So that's not too bad, but he had no larvae left in his chamber, so that's all he's got right now is 5. And then the last bit of that is going to be, again, to collect a card from that space right there, which is good. He's got a lot of cards. That's helping him. And it's a proboscis head. It says, when you win a battle, immediately collect 1 resource from any collection site in the hex you battled. That's these are all pretty cool. Okay, and then that's it. So now we're going to go to feeding. So how many ants does yellow? We'll just do yellow while we're here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but we also have one of these. So these are going to, unfortunately, we're still going to spend 2 food. So there's 2, because we got 6 ants to feed. They feed up to 4, up to 5 with this abdomen upgrade, but we still need to spend extra food. Kind of wasteful, but we did do that. And then we're going to score. Says, oh, and then we do the Royal Decree. We got to score next, but we're going to do the Royal Decree, which allows them to get either food or larvae. And I think this turn, because we got to beef up the board, we're going to do a little exploring, but we're going to do a big march too. I think, we get to choose between 2 food or 5 larvae. I think a yellow is going to take the 5 larvae. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That puts a lot of stuff in their chamber to get cards out and all kinds of things. So that's good. Now we'll move over and feed and do the Royal Decree for the red player. They also I got to remember to place this in their chamber too. That was from their rest action for the yellow player. Speaking of which, they get another food. They have 5 food right now and another larva. The red player is doing really well, but they do have to feed, and they got quite a few to feed. Let's take a look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. You know what that means? It's going to cost actually 3 food. Now, if he had a 1 abdomen upgrade, he would have only been able to pay 2, but he's going to have to pay 3 as a result, kind of wasting some of the food. So he's only got 2 food left. He's got lots of larvae, so I think he's going to, for his Royal Decree, he's going to take the 2 food back. Okay, that gives him 4 food to work with next turn. Okay, now we go to the slumber phase where we gain points. So, something I made a mistake on, I'm going to correct it right now because we should have done it last turn and these tiles were out. Any tile touching the Great Hall that is occupied scores, and I'll show you where I'm talking about that when we're doing colony points. So obviously we won battles and we got points for that. And then there's crown collection sites. We're going to get a point for each one of those. So the yellow player has exactly 3, 1 for each of the spaces they're on. So that's going to put them from 4 to 5, 6, 7 right there. And then the red player has actually 4, I think. Yes, 4. Make sure that each one has that. Yes, so the red player goes 1, 2, 3, and 4. So he's tied with the yellow player right now. Both of them jumped ahead of the centipedes again. It was definitely a race. And then our colony goal, neither of us have colony goals, and it goes to end game scoring. But there was also inner meadow for each slumber, 1 point for each slumber. Sorry, 1 point each slumber for each inner meadow hex you control. As you can see, they both control 2. Yellow player controls these 2. Red player controls those 2. So they're going to go up to, let me see, 11 points. That got them ahead a little bit, right? Boom. Okay, there we go. And that is basically the end of our round. It's a bit longer round. The last thing we're going to do is move this up to there, and take the first player token, move it back to the yellow player, and that's going to effectively end our turn. Now there are 3. Oh, you know what I needed to do for the I needed each slumber phase. I also need to do 1 point per player each time enters Great Hall, but there's also 1 point for each centipede in a meadow, and 1 point for each centipede. Okay, so there's no centipedes in the meadow, just the ones in the Great Hall, and those scored 2 points when they entered, so that's all that's going to happen for them. They're not going to get to score more. Alright guys, that's it. We'll see you next time. Again, learning experience here. Let me know if I made any mistakes. Feel free to correct me, and thanks for watching. Much appreciated. Looking forward to what to play next. I got a lot of things going on, so I got stuff to show you.